The money is not the issue. The government has been very generous with the C2S program, with the EDA tools. The EDA tool also involves, the CTS also involves development boards as well. So there's also very good support, and Sudeep nailed it. The last thing you want to do is just do a photo op, say you've done a ribbon cutting, and then that thing just lies and catches dust. That's a tragedy. This hand-holding, which you mentioned, is very critical. The fact that NVIDIA has put in skin in the game and people. And then not only that, we didn't touch upon the subject of the internships, right? Now you have a closed-loop system, and you have a process which is repetitive now. And you try, and then they take the cream of the crop into NVIDIA on their payrolls. Again, you would have bridged that 3-year gap now because they have such a tight collaboration with VIT. Plus you have the hands-on experiments. Plus you have the involvement of NVIDIA. They'll take out of those 180 students, they'll take 10 to 15 of them and give them fantastic packages.
It is happening already.
It's already happening.
It is happening. So as in, continuation to what you said, what are the special government initiatives or programs do you think are already benefiting the industry? And what do you think more the government or the academia can do to, further make industry's job easier?
Okay. So again, we'll break this down into segments. And I'll first start at a high level by talking about the names of the programs and then try to go just touch the surface on the impact they're making. So at the academia level, the C2S program. The C2S program is nothing but a rebranded name for the SMDP program, which is a Special Manpower Development Program, which started back in the early 2000s with Cadence and Synopsys pioneering giving the EDA tools in the universities. What they found was the EDA tools were given, but they weren't used. They didn't know how to use them, and then they weren't able to get the tape outs like we had envisioned early days. And then it migrated to 2 and 3 to C2S today, which is EDA tools plus the development boards for academia purposes only, not for commercial. The universities which have the C2S license are now becoming nodal universities, which can now give access to EDA tools to other universities as well. It's hand in hand with CDAC also. CDAC is a Center of Design for Advanced Computing, and we have multiple CDACs across the country. So they're doing a hub and spoke method and a mesh network, which is good for the tools. So accessibility, just like internet, needs to be made available. This is C2S. And like he mentioned, the very expensive EDA tools are now available for academia and for students. And now they're able to envision that I can actually create a product on my own. Now, once they've graduated and they have a startup, an IoT startup or a power electronics startup or an EV startup, they need the EDA tools again because at the school they've been doing only research level, right? Now they want to make a product. This is the DLI scheme, the Design Linked Incentive Scheme. Again, they give you the EDA tools. They're setting up plug-and-play facilities. They're giving you access to development kits. You have a subsidy for the development kits and the hardware for the subsystems, and you're able to get your product to market and have a POC. Once you have the POC, now you want to go into mass production. Today, the startups are not in mass production. There's a few cases, maybe Boat or Micromax, some examples are there. But then you have the PLI scheme, which is a product-linked incentive. And that's where all the big boys and the cell phone industry, the laptop industry, the data server markets are all jumping on the PLI scheme, which is, again, for every product you produce, you can get 4 to 6% of top-line revenue back as an incentive linked to your production, and plus 50% subsidy from the center. That policy has been rippled on down to the states, and the states are topping it up with another 25 to 30%. So now you have a situation where the capex, your development cost of setting up a startup, is funded to the extent of 75 to 80%. And your EDA tools are now given to you as part of the package, which is basically your biggest chunk of expense. So that's going to be propelling the designs to do. And then the big guys are doing the PLI scheme now. As you can see, we're number 2 in mobile phone. And now what you're also seeing is the domestic content and the downstream Make in India vision that's starting to happen. And you're seeing the tie-ups with the globals and the local India. HCL has announced a massive tie-up with Foxconn. VVDN is tying up with HP. And you're going to see more and more of those happening because of the PLI scheme. Highly successful. Then you have an EMC scheme, EMC 2.0 actually, we're on the second version, which is nothing but electronics manufacturing clusters. And so the states have signed up for these EMCs and they're allocating parks, 1,000-acre, 5,000-acre parks with plug-and-play facilities so people can come and start setting up their manufacturing on the go, power, water, roads, being able to set up your lab equipment, UPSs, etc. This has been taking off. So now you're seeing electronics parks and manufacturing clusters come up across the country. They're also being smart about focusing on clusters which are applicable to particular industry domains. So you have automotive clusters in Pimpri and Pune. You have Haryana automotive clusters. You have AI clusters in Hyderabad and in Pune also. So example, those manufacturing setups which are specific to industries are being set up under the EMC scheme with the states. So then you have the spec scheme, which is the last one. And that's nothing but downstream support for downstream electronic components. Of course, we're talking about systems, and today we're importing all the chips from Infineon, from ST, from NXP. Those are the microcontrollers and the SoCs. But there's also passive components and discretes. There's also even hardware components like connectors. Those are all imported, everything, 100%. So now they're giving incentive for startup engineers to actually do it at the component level. So now if you have the components, you have the microcontroller, you have the board, you have the EDA software, you have your startup impetus and pushes. And of course, I don't need to talk about every state is doing their startup acceleration, their elevates, their, Gujarat, all the states have their electronics policies and their accelerations, which is also enabling and helping this. And then the big guys are now availing, and we're becoming a leader in contract manufacturing, but we're still importing. But now we're starting to move shift left, shift left, shift left, shift left. So that's how it's going to emerge.
Got it.